This drama is definitely the most stunning epic suspense masterpiece of the year, with a mysterious style and mysterious supernatural elements that can be described as stunning. As the sequel to the most brain-burning drama and dark theme in history, this drama vividly portrays the plot of reasoning and exploration, gradually uncovering the truth behind the events in a progressive manner. Just based on people's fear of facing unknown affairs, it makes them nervous and almost unable to breathe. In 1899, a huge cruise ship was sailing at full speed according to the established trajectory of the immigration company, and more than 1,000 passengers from different countries, speaking different languages, races, and even social classes, were on board. Rich people who can afford first-class cabins can freely move around in luxurious banquet halls, while ordinary people who can barely afford boat tickets can only live in dimly lit mezzanine. The most hard-working poor can only choose to sell their labor in exchange for a hard-earned boat ticket. Although their identities and status vary greatly, without exception, they are not satisfied with their current situation. Therefore, they choose to embark on this immigration ship to New York, hoping to come to this brand new country and start a new life. Although there were only 7 days left until the long-awaited destination, everyone's mood did not become relaxed because there was always a chilling rumor circulating in every corner of the cruise ship. It is said that just a few months ago, another immigrant ship, also sailing from London to New York, mysteriously lost contact with the outside world while passing through a mysterious sea area in the Atlantic Ocean. Although the immigration company sent multiple fleets to try to find it, the missing ship named Prometheus seemed to have evaporated from the human world and could not find any clues, and Lisa's brother was on the disappearing ship. He wrote a letter to Lisa, agreeing to meet in New York and tell him some secrets about their father. He also told him not to trust anyone, but before he arrived at his destination, he mysteriously disappeared with the ship. Although Lisa kept telling her brother that nothing was going to happen, she couldn't help but feel a hint of ominous premonition in her heart. In the restaurant, people are still panicking and not distressed because they are afraid that their boats will also encounter accidents. Suddenly, a man wearing a top hat disrupted the tranquility here. "You go. No, 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 now." It is not difficult to see from the man's clothing and the scars on his face that he is a poor man from the middle of a ship. Due to strict social class rules at that time, when faced with requests for help from people who were not as good as his own, these well-dressed wealthy people showed great indifference, and no one was willing to lend a helping hand. Before the man could explain the urgency of the situation, he was dragged out by the security guard who rushed in upon hearing the news. "You, oh my God, stand up. Stop." Although doing so clearly did not comply with the regulations, Lisa, a doctor who studies the human brain, couldn't bear to face death. Therefore, he secretly followed the crew to the deck and quietly released the imprisoned man. Later, the two of them arrived at the mezzanine of the ship together, and unexpectedly, a pregnant woman in unbearable pain. Seeing this, Lisa quickly untied her clothes and used her professional knowledge to smoothly adjust the position of the fetus, rescuing the woman who was already in agony. Everyone instantly cast grateful gazes. However, Lisa's crossing behavior still caused dissatisfaction from the captain. Before he could scold the woman, his men hurriedly rushed onto the deck and handed him a mysterious telegram. Upon hearing this statement, the captain hurriedly arrived at the telegraph room, and the information presented on the note was clearly a series of coordinates of the sea area. Is it really the help message sent by the long-lost Prometheus? Everyone felt incredulous, because according to common sense, if a missing ship had deviated from its course a few months ago, the current should have washed it up to its north. But reality is exactly the opposite. Although everything seemed to be filled with a strange aura, the captain ignored everyone's opposition and resolutely ordered to sail towards the coordinates. Because despite the hope being slim, he always believed that there should be a possibility of survival on board the ship. After 7 hours of full-speed sailing, the sky had gradually become dim, and in their nearby situation, the long-lost cruise ship did indeed appear. Without much time to think, the crew quickly fired signal flares into the sky, attempting to catch the attention of the Prometheus. Although the sky has been dyed a rare red, there is still no response on the opposite ship. Faced with such a terrifying scene, Defoe suggested that the matter be reported to the company for handling, and there is no need to take risks for this. However, he did not expect to face strong opposition from the captain. There seemed to be something deeply attracted to him, so he decided to take the doctor Lisa, a priest, and a few strong crew members to row a small boat and board the pitch-black ship. However, at this moment, they were unaware that while they were busy searching for survivors, a strange figure was quietly climbing into their brightly lit cruise ship under the cover of night. On the other hand, the captain and his men searched everywhere for the survivors, but they were completely shocked by everything in front of them. On a large cruise ship that used to cost over 1,400 yuan, there was no trace of anyone, not even a body. Moreover, even the areas where guests usually live seem to have been abandoned for decades. What's even more eerie is that even though the telegraph machine has been completely destroyed, it leans towards them and sends a mysterious signal for help. Seeing this scene, everyone was momentarily lost in thought, only feeling a chill in their backs. However, just as everyone decided to leave this eerie test flight site quickly, a strange green beetle suddenly caught Lisa's attention. In the dilapidated cabinet that had been sealed for a long time, a mysterious boy appeared who was dressed brilliantly but had a strange expression on his face. As soon as everyone returned to the ship, Defoe found the captain. The company's superior sent them a telegram instruction, which only had the simple words "sunken ship" on it. Moreover, when they received this telegram, they lost contact with the company. What's even more incomprehensible to the crew is that all of their compasses have malfunctioned. The captain looked at the Prometheus in the distance, unsure of what to do. The crew behind him were also discussing, and the wealthy approached at this moment, hoping that he could make a decision as soon as possible. Otherwise, with so many people on board, it would soon cause a riot. The captain just kept them waiting. On the other hand, the little boy in the cabinet was taken back to his room by Lisa. Watching the other person still asleep, he decided to go out for some air. Along the way, he happened to meet the captain who was looking for him. He found out that the boy had not spoken, and the captain felt that all of this was too strange. At that moment, he seemed to hear a song. In Lisa's puzzled gaze, the captain followed the sound and chased after him. Lisa had no choice but to return to the room, only to see a man twisting his door to guard it at the door. The man quickly introduced himself as Daniel, his neighbor in room 1013 next door. He heard a strange sound in Lisa's room and wanted to check it out. Lisa looked at the man in front of her and felt a hint of familiarity, saying that she seemed to have seen him somewhere before. After Daniel denied his speculation, he returned to his own room. When Lisa returned to the room, the little boy had already woken up, but he still didn't say a word. On the other side, the captain saw his daughter's figure in the passage and followed her all the way. He even returned to his room door. But the moment he pushed open the door, he returned to his own home. At this moment, his wife and daughter seemed to be waiting for him to come home. Just as he was excitedly embracing his daughter, her body suddenly caught fire, accompanied by a strong flame impact, and the captain was instantly knocked away. When he stood up again, everything around him had already been burned to the ground. At that moment, he saw a green beetle on the ground, following its crawling direction. The captain followed suit and climbed into the fireplace, then up the ladder. But when he opened the top cover, he found that he had returned to his room on the ship, which was engraved with a mysterious triangular symbol. Lisa on the other side was still trying to ask something from the boy's mouth, but accidentally discovered a mysterious triangle symbol behind his ear. The boy just made a silent gesture, but the next moment the captain approached him and pressed the boy against the wall, questioning him what exactly happened on the Prometheus. Lisa quickly stepped forward to stop the captain's crazy move. Just as the two were arguing about it at the door, a mysterious man suddenly appeared in the corridor on the other side and quietly entered a room. Just as the man was placing a badge on the table, the owner of the room happened to return. The man had to hastily hide under the bed and then take advantage of the woman's changing clothes to come out from under the bed and slip away. But his unfamiliar face, dressed in crew attire, quickly caught the attention of the other crew members. He immediately turned around and ran, but was eventually subdued by the crew's joint efforts. The captain returned to the room and stared at the exit, lost in thought. He still entered the secret passage again, but the original entrance to the fireplace was missing. Before he could figure out what was going on, a knock on the door came from above. It turned out that the workers in the boiler room were reporting to him. At this point, only half of the coal was left on the ship, and then I asked what was necessary to return to the original route. The captain did not answer his question and went straight back to the room. Lisa on the other side took out a letter. Ji Xinyuan was his brother and a passenger on the Prometheus, and the sign on the envelope was exactly the same as that on the boy's neck. He hoped that the boy could help himself, but the boy still didn't say anything. Before Lisa could continue questioning, a loud noise came from outside. It turned out that the captain had ordered everyone to gather at the restaurant, ready to announce something. After everyone rushed to the restaurant, Daniel, who lived in room 1013, walked out of the room. He crouched down and released a green beetle from his hand. In a short while, a little girl in the lower cabin noticed the crawling beetle and followed it by a stroke of luck. Soon, she arrived on the deck of the ship, and then Daniel appeared in front of the girl and retrieved the beetle from her palm. "I am so sorry." Meanwhile, passengers have gathered at the restaurant. The captain announced that due to insufficient coal on board, he had decided to tow the Prometheus back to Europe. The passengers immediately started a riot upon hearing this. Most of them chose to immigrate to New York just to leave there. If they returned to London now, it would undoubtedly cause trouble and be like sending them to a dead end. But the captain ignored the crowd and turned around to leave amidst opposition. Lisa followed closely behind and followed the captain to the deck. The captain directly took out the sinking order sent by the company and told Lisa that there must be some secret on board the Prometheus. The company wanted to hide this secret, and someone even sent him a letter with photos of his family and news about the disappearance of the Prometheus. This must be someone who hopes he can uncover the secrets of the Prometheus, even for the sake of his family. He must investigate the matter thoroughly. The Cerberus quickly towed the Prometheus back, and then the captain and others found the body of the little girl on the deck. After examination by the ship's doctor, no signs of injuries or poisoning were found on the girl's body, making his cause of death a mystery. The captain ordered a lockdown on the news of the girl's death in order to avoid causing riots. Suddenly, the ship seemed to slow down, and everyone hurriedly came to the deck to check. A thick fog rose all around. First, the compass malfunctioned, and now it became blind again. The captain had to order to wait in place for the fog to dissipate before proceeding. Then, the captain called Lisa to his room and moved the bed to show him the mysterious passage. As the captain of this ship, he knew exactly how many screws there were on board, but he was unaware of the existence of this secret passage, which must be related to the Prometheus. Therefore, he decided to go to the Prometheus again and investigate the log on it. But this decision aroused strong opposition from the crew, but the captain persisted and boarded the small boat with Lisa. As soon as the two of them left, Defoe opened a special device on a wall and entered information according to the note. At this moment, the little boy in the room seemed to sense something, picked up the mysterious triangle on the table, and crawled under the bed. At the same time, the captain's subordinate, Big Beard, disobeyed his orders and told the girl's sister about her death. As a poor person in the lower-class cabin, he had to painfully hold his sister's body and return to the lower-class cabin. The captain and Lisa on the other side have arrived at the Prometheus, but they have not found the logbook in the cockpit. Then they arrived at the captain's lounge and moved the bed away, only to find a secret passage. Misha climbed in without saying a word, but did not find the exit. The little boy on the other side crawled out of the bed at the same time, and then there was a knocking sound outside the door. A green beetle crawled in through the crack in the door, and Daniel then pushed the door in. The beetle was actually caught in the boy's palm, and the captain of the Prometheus couldn't figure out why the company had to see the secret passage at this moment. A few months before departure, this ship was sent to the shipyard for renovation and installed with brand new communication equipment, and that triangle was also the company's logo. The captain suddenly thought of something and took Lisa to the boiler room. He opened an iron door and a mysterious device caught his eye. He said it was an instrument used to measure steam pressure. There's a similar one on the USS Cerberus, but I've never seen it work before. But that still doesn't explain where all the inherited people have gone. Lisa looked at the boiler next to her, suspecting that all the bodies had been burned. The two of them immediately rummaged through the small bones and teeth in each boiler. The captain accidentally found several unfinished papers inside, and took out one to check. It turned out to be Prometheus' passenger list. When he saw the specific personnel information, he looked back at Lisa incredulously and hid the list. Then he proposed to return to the Cerberus. Meanwhile, Big Beard was patrolling the guest rooms when he unexpectedly discovered several corpses lying on the hallway. He immediately thought for a few years, and after examination, they, like the little girl, could not find any cause of death on their bodies. Defoe hopes that Defoe can take over this ship and execute the company's orders. Chen Diao, the Prometheus, believed that something must have killed all the passengers on that ship, and that thing had already arrived on their ship. But Defoe refused Big Beard's proposal, and Big Beard decided to rebel against the captain. He brought his hands down to the lower-class cabin and used returning to the route as a reason to gain the support of all civilians. He also distributed weapons to all those who supported him, but one of the cookmakers did not want to be with him. In order to prevent him from reporting to the public in advance, Big Beard locked him up in a warehouse. The mysterious black man before was also among them. Returning to the captain of the USS Cerberus with no knowledge at this time, he took out the list of discoveries and confirmed once again that Lisa's name was indeed on it. Before he could figure out what was going on, Beard rushed in with a large number of civilians armed with guns, demanding that he steer the Cerberus to its original course. At the same time, Daniel pulled out a mysterious device in his room, and with the continuous movement of his fingers, the never-running steam measurement had begun to work. When Daniel pressed the last button, the Cerberus, which was originally dragging the Prometheus, instantly disappeared from the sea. However, the people on board were completely unaware of all this and locked the captain in the warehouse, taking away the previous two people. Because at this point, the people who died without reason on the ship had piled up into a small mountain, and they were afraid of contracting some disease, so they ordered the two to throw the bodies into the sea. The two had no choice but to follow suit. The crew finally discovered that the Prometheus was missing, and the compass on board had returned to normal. Even more eerily, they had returned to the position they had been in 3 days before when they deviated from the course. Although all of this was somewhat bizarre, Big Beard still ordered to continue moving towards the original route at full speed. As more and more people died, the civilians panicked and asked the crew to provide an explanation. Defoe knew that if he couldn't give them an answer, they would kill themselves and others without hesitation, so he threw the pot at the boy who brought it back. A group of people arrested Lisa and then took him outside room 1011. After obtaining the key from him, the group entered the room, but the little boy was not in the room. The civilians decided to search every room for the whereabouts of the boy. A group of people left and locked Lisa up. Just as Lisa was at a loss, there was noise coming from under the bed. She quickly ground the bed open and found that there was also a secret passage here, and the little boy was indeed hiding inside. At this moment, with the help of Little Beard, the captain in the warehouse successfully freed himself from bondage, and then he used a coin to unscrew the screw on the ventilation duct. On the other side of the boiler room, Daniel quietly approached the steam pressure measuring instrument while no one was paying attention. He then took out the mysterious device from his pocket and connected it to the data cable of the steam pressure instrument. As he kept flicking his fingers, the instrument mirror was activated again. At this time, Xiaohe, who was dealing with the body, climbed over the guardrail while the guards were not paying attention, but he was still discovered by the guards. He ran away all the way and once again hid in the woman's room from last time. With the help of a woman, he dodged pursuit. Little Black decided to rescue the captain to end this absurd rebellion, while the woman decided to go with him to the other side. Lisa was inquiring about the arrival of the little boy's secret passage, but the boy remained silent. Lisa had no choice but to find a way to pry open the door first. The boy then walked up to him and slowly crouched down, releasing the green beetle from his palm. When the beetle crawled through the crack in the door lock opened in response. Before Lisa could recover from the shock, the boy pulled him along the direction of the beetle's crawling, and their movements were all seen by a man. The captain on the other side also climbed out of the ventilation duct at this moment, and Xiaohe arrived just in time. The captain was preparing to take a small boat to Prometheus 4, and then fix the telegraph machine on it and ask for help from the outside world. His idea received support from several people, and when they got the lifeboat ready to leave, the boy with Lisa also happened to find them. But then, the man who had previously discovered their whereabouts came over with a group of people and said they only wanted the boy. Lisa immediately protected the boy behind her after hearing this, but the boy took the initiative to come out and Art came over to drive. Then everyone was taken away by the bearded man, but then Little Black got up from the ground. It turned out that the bullet had just hit his arm. He quietly arrived at the room where the captain and others were being held, used a hammer to deal with 2 guards, and successfully rescued the group. Just as the bearded group was preparing to go on a hunger strike at the boy's place on the deck, the captain and his team rushed over, and the 2 sides quickly engaged in battle. Lisa took advantage of the chaos to try to rescue the boy, but a woman resolutely threw the boy into the sea. Watching the boy fall into the water, Lisa stood still on the spot until Daniel arrived and he regained consciousness. The captain saw that we were outnumbered by the enemy and decisively ordered evacuation. He temporarily hid in the restaurant with his group, then called Lisa aside and took out the passenger list. He pointed to Lisa's name and asked him what was going on, but Lisa also looked confused. At this moment, a strange noise came from behind him. Soon, everyone heard the commotion and saw that the cabinet door was constantly shining. Then, the boy, who should have been as deep as the sea, climbed out of it. This shocked everyone, but the boy hugged Lisa tightly. Faced with this eerie scene, the captain ordered the boy to be locked back in the cabinet. However, no one noticed that the scene was exactly the same as when they found the boy on the Prometheus. Watching the cabinet door being continuously slammed, Baisha disregarded dissuasion and prepared to release the boy. Everyone present except Lisa remained motionless, and at this moment, the space was frozen. Under this eerie scene, Lisa slowly approached and took the bullet from the air. At this moment, another sound came from the cabinet behind him. Lisa pulled out the iron rod, but the boy walked out as if nothing had happened. Faced with Lisa's questioning, the boy remained silent and then took Lisa's hand and walked out of the restaurant. At the moment when the 2 of them walked out of the door, the space inside the restaurant returned to normal. Watching the open cabinet door and the 2 people disappearing, everyone was also puzzled. At this moment, the piercing alarm sounded on the ship, and passengers opened their doors to check. Before everyone could understand what was going on, the alarm stopped, followed by a series of ticking sounds. In the next moment, most people are like walking corpses, following the rhythm of the ticking sound and walking in one direction. No matter how sober people try to stop them, they don't respond at all and continue walking. Soon, they gathered on the deck. No elders. They actually climbed over the guardrail and then jumped straight into the sea. The same scene unfolded in various parts of the ship, as they jumped into the sea one by one like moths extinguishing the fire, devoid of emotion. This eerie scene shocked everyone who was still conscious. At this moment, the wealthy man once again came to the mysterious device and sent a message to the outside world. At this moment, the captain and the bearded men were once again in a standoff. When they learned that all these people had jumped into the sea and committed suicide, both sides were not calm anymore. They immediately tried their best to stop everyone who was still moving forward, but all of this was in vain. The boy on the other side brought Lisa back to the room, and she put down the triangle in her hand, picked up a pen, and wrote a sentence on the paper. Then the boy pulled Lisa up in front of him. "I can tell you, creator." Then the boy moved the bed away, grabbed the triangle, and entered the secret passage. After climbing to the bottom, the boy released the green beetle from his hand again. Under Lisa's gaze, the boy disappeared into the secret passage, and Lisa quickly followed him down. At this moment, a passage appeared on the wall. After a moment of contemplation, he climbed along the passage and entered. When he climbed to the end, he unexpectedly came to another scene. The square passage behind him was so abrupt, and a nearby building successfully caught Lisa's attention. At this moment, Daniel also found Lisa's room and found that the secret passage had been opened. He quickly crawled in. Watching the disappearing passage, Daniel quickly pulled out the previous device. After some manipulation, the passage was opened again and he quickly arrived at the space where Lisa had just been, but Lisa's figure was no longer there. Only the boy stood quietly in front of a grave. "You broke it here." She didn't remember. "We don't have much time. I need to stop this before they think about the ship." At this time, the people on board the Kerberos were constantly jumping into the sea, and more people were losing consciousness. The people who were still conscious quickly came up with a solution, and they cooperated with each other to restrain themselves. The crew also reported what happened on the ship to the company via telegram, but the response they received was still that the ship sank. At this moment, Defoe also came to the telegraph room, but he ignored the panicked crew and instead pulled out a device similar to Daniel. After a few fiddles, the Korean one lost consciousness and fell to the ground. Lisa on the other side had already entered the mysterious building. After casually opening a door, a chair was placed in the open room in front of her. Just as he was puzzled, his father appeared behind him, holding a needle neck in his hand. Then two big men pressed Lisa onto a chair and injected him with the needle neck. When he woke up again, he had already returned to his own room. Looking at the strangulation marks on his wrist, he realized that everything just now was real, so he quickly ran out and happened to meet the captain who was looking for him. The captain directly questioned why he disappeared out of thin air, and Lisa could only say that it was made by the boy using that triangle. Then the captain took him to his room, and Lisa voluntarily revealed her secret. It turned out that his father was the owner of the shipping company. He spent his whole life studying human behavior. Lisa believed that his father must have tampered with the ship, and he received a letter from his brother 4 months before this departure, mentioning that he had discovered his father's secret and made an appointment with Lisa to meet in New York. However, the Prometheus he was on mysteriously disappeared. At this moment, Lisa suddenly saw a green beetle crawling on the table. She immediately picked up a cup and covered the beetle, then put it into an iron cigarette box. Then she crawled into the secret passage and decisively released the beetle. The beetle did not disappoint Lisa, and the passage entrance quickly appeared before her. Lisa climbed in without hesitation, and the captain followed closely behind her. The captain was shocked by everything in front of him, as this was actually his home. The two of them quickly returned to the Kerberos, and the captain once again took out the list, which turned out to be his own name on it. On the other side, Daniel came to the measuring instrument again, and his behavior quickly caught the attention of a worker. However, Daniel ignored it and continued to work on it. When the workers saw this, they knocked him down with a shovel and quickly pressed him. Daniel reached out and pressed the button on the mysterious device at a critical moment, and the worker suddenly fainted. "Please remove the trouble." Daniel once again connected the data cable of the instrument to the device in his hand, and he quickly completed the operation, causing the instrument to stop working. The confusing ticking sound on the USS Kerberos also disappeared, and those who were still conscious realized they had been saved. Those who had lost their sanity also regained their will. All the survivors arrived on the deck together. The cruise ship, which originally had over 1,000 passengers, now only a dozen or so people were left. At this moment, Defoe also stepped onto the deck and handed over the telegram sent by the company to the captain. On the other side, in an unknown room, Lisa's father received a distress telegram from the Kerberos and ordered his men to issue instructions to bring the boy back. The survivors on the ship gathered together, and now that the ship's engine has stopped, they must find a way to restart it. The captain and Lisa went to search for the whereabouts of the little boy, while the captain and his companions used a telegraph to call for help. The women began searching the ship to see if there were any other survivors, while the others, led by Xiaohei, went to the boiler room to find a way to restart the engine. However, on the way, they discovered a strange noise, a black crystal constantly expanding outward. Daniel quickly spoke up to remind everyone that no one knows exactly what's going on with this thing, so it's best not to touch it. Afterwards, he turned around and left while others were not paying attention. But this mysterious crystal was not just in this place. The woman in charge of searching for survivors curiously stepped forward to touch, and a piercing pain came. Then, the woman's fingers were spread black. The wealthy man on the other side arrived at the restaurant alone and then crawled into the cabinet. At this moment, Lisa led the captain into the secret passage in his room. Soon they arrived at the building Lisa had been to before, but little did they know that Daniel had also followed through the secret passage. The two of them entered the mysterious room again. After the captain looked around for a week, behind the curtains of the room, he found that the window was covered with steel plates studded with rivets. It seemed that this was really just a part of the ship's hull. Lisa walked to the other side and broke open the wooden boards on the wall, revealing the same steel plates as expected. At this moment, several people in the boiler room finally succeeded in restarting the engine and restoring power through unremitting efforts. But at this moment, the wealthy man who was supposed to be in the cab appeared in a mysterious hell, and Lisa's father was waiting for him. Defoe reported to him that the ship has lost control and the transfer will take about 48 hours. Lisa's father ordered the doctor to bring the boy to him within 48 hours, and then the crystal block in his hand turned into fly ash, and mysterious crystals appeared in the place where the captain and Lisa were located. Just as Lisa was about to reach out and touch, she was stopped by Daniel, who came rushing over. Lisa suspected that he was working for her father when he suddenly appeared. The captain also felt that Daniel had a problem after listening, so he pointed a gun at him. Daniel suddenly counterattacked, shot down his gun, and then pulled out a mysterious device. Before the captain could react, he instantly teleported him to another hell. Lisa picked up her gun and aimed it at Daniel, questioning what was going on. Daniel actually claimed to be her husband. Lisa was shocked when she heard this. She didn't know if what the other person was saying was true or false. She had to first ask Daniel to put down the mysterious device in his hand, pick it up, put it in her own pocket, lock the other person, and then run to the open space, shouting towards the sky, "I know that you are watching me. Where are you?" Then angrily threw away the gun. Looking at the crack that appeared out of thin air, Lisa slowly stepped forward to check. A gap appeared in front of him, and then he pulled off a piece. Behind it was a steel plate embedded with rivets. At this moment, on the sea surface, there was a sudden strong wind, lightning, and thunder. The captain on the other side also climbed back to the room along the passage. "But everything around us is already in ruins." When he looked out the window, he found countless cruise ships parked on the sea around him. Lisa crawled back to the Corberus from the secret passage, and he also noticed the storm outside. The people in the cockpit also realized that they must now find the captain and others because no one can pilot a cruise ship. When Lisa arrived at the cockpit, only the woman who had been infected with crystals was left here. His entire palm had turned black. After comforting him, Lisa continued to search for the captain's whereabouts. At this moment, Defoe also returned to the Corberus. He ran into the infirmary, opened a drawer in the room, and groped for a tablet inside, which displayed the sound of the entire ship. It turned out that he was searching for the boy's whereabouts through the tablet. The survivors couldn't find the captain, they could only find Big Beard and ask him to find a way. Big Beard immediately arranged for someone to go to Cambridge to stabilize the ship's movement, keeping the bow facing the wind and waves, so that they could possibly escape danger. Lisa on the other side arrived at Daniel's room and found a secret passage under his bed. Then she went to a room filled with photos of him and Daniel, and the boy turned out to be his child. At this moment, Daniel, who was trapped, found a steel pipe in the room and used it to pry open a steel plate on the wall. Looking at the densely packed cables in front of him, he resolutely crawled in. After some searching, he arrived at another area where the screen in the sky kept flickering. Daniel knew that his time was running out, so he walked towards a dry well and ran to another space. A flickering screen caught his attention. Through the passage in front of his eyes, Daniel finally returned to the space where the mysterious building was located. He ran all the way to the abandoned tomb, dug up the soil on it, opened the lid of the coffin, and surprisingly, there was also a secret passage here, and the boy was hiding inside. Daniel told his son about what had happened outside and promised to save his mother. Before leaving, the boy handed him a ring, and at this time, Defoe finally found the boy's project through the tablet, so he quickly sent the message to the boss. Daniel quickly arrived by Lisa's side, but at this moment Lisa still couldn't believe that the boy was actually her own son. Daniel took Lisa back to the Kerberos and told him that the simulation program was about to shut down, and he had to remember the password to do so. Lisa took out a pendant and a golden key was inside it. Daniel immediately took him to the infirmary and also took out the tablet. She took her device from Lisa and linked it to the tablet. He explained to Lisa that what they have experienced these days has been repeated countless times. He needs to temporarily fix the program to buy time. At this moment, the cruise ship was like a leaf on the raging sea, with a large amount of seawater rushing into the cabin. The bearded person who was preparing to close the cabin door found that the handle inside was missing. Now someone must stay outside and lock the cabin door. Although he had rebelled against the captain, he did not hesitate to leave the pregnant woman inside and lock the hatch outside. After Defoe found the boy's position, he quickly brought him to the boss's face. Lisa and her son on the other side also returned to their room, preparing to meet up, but Daniel found out that the entrance to the secret passage was missing. At this moment, Lisa's father's voice came from around. He told the two of them that the people on this ship would eventually die and enter the next round of simulation experiments. He threatened the boy's fate and asked them to hand over the keys. But Daniel didn't want to compromise like this. He put the ring in Lisa's hand and turned around to leave. As the countdown passed by second until it returned to 0, a huge vortex appeared in the sea ahead of the Kerberos, and the ship was quickly sucked in, seemingly on the verge of destruction. At this moment, the captain, who was drinking heavily on the Prometheus, seemed to hear some noise coming from outside. When he arrived on deck, he happened to see the Kerberos rushing out of the vortex, and the huge vortex disappeared without a trace. The few survivors on board also boarded the deck one after another. The captain quickly returned to the Kerberos to be killed, and then told everyone everything he knew, saying that it was all illusory and not real. He also reminded them of how he boarded the cruise ship. Sure enough, everyone couldn't remember it anymore, and each of them received a mysterious letter, and Daniel was helping them get rid of it all. At this moment, Daniel arrived at the steam instrument again, but due to the shutdown of the simulation program, the device in his hand was no longer functional, so he picked up a shovel and pried open the chassis. At this moment, the black crystals in the cabin are still spreading. Lisa took the captain to the secret passage in Daniel's room, and then, based on her own guess, lifted a wooden board from a wall. Sure enough, she discovered a hidden secret passage behind her, and Daniel on the other side successfully activated it. After some operation, a more precise device appeared in front of him, and the crystals in the cabin began to accelerate and spread. The entire program seemed to have been disrupted. After Daniel completed the operation, a series of abnormal scenes appeared in front of everyone. Then Daniel arrived at the restaurant and crawled into the cabinet. On the other side, Lisa and the captain finally found the space under their room. Just as the two of them didn't know where to start, the first mate appeared in front of them holding a mysterious device. With the manipulation of his fingers, the captain immediately lost consciousness, and Lisa had to hand over the key. Then, he was taken to his father's office. With the manipulation of the other's fingers, they instantly arrived in the hospital room. Two big men once again locked Lisa in a chair, and the father also revealed the truth at this moment. It turned out that all of this was created by Lisa over a decade ago, and the boy was also a product here. Although it was just a string of code, as time passed, Lisa developed feelings for her. Then, after clearing the boy's memory, she designed this simulation program that trapped everyone here. Lisa is the real culprit. Her father is the one who wants to get the key and lead everyone out of this cycle, and Lisa will be forever trapped in this cycle after her memories are erased. Due to the program crash, the Kerberos also began to gradually collapse. Lisa's father inserted the key into the keyhole inside the triangle, but after turning the key, everyone did not wake up from the illusion. But the Kerberos dissipated along with it. Lisa opened her eyes again and did not fall into the cycle of the Kerberos. Looking at the boy's grave not far away, Lisa seemed to have not been erased by her father's memory. When he arrived at this underground room, Daniel also followed suit and appeared here. It turns out that when Daniel invaded the system, he changed some of the codes and changed the password to leave this world into Lisa's ring. This was indeed created by their couple, but everything that happened now was caused by Lisa's brother, who took over the entire program and took control of everything. Father, like everyone else, is actually one of the trapped members here. Now their time is running out, and Lisa must wake up quickly to stop everything. As he spoke, he placed the ring on the toy pyramid. Lisa finally woke up from the real world, surrounded by her companions on the Kerberos spacecraft. When she looked out the window, she found herself on a spaceship traveling in space. The above is all the content of the first season of 1899. Although the entire drama is somewhat imaginative and the ending provides a lot of room for imagination, overall it is still a very good suspense blockbuster. I hope that by the second season, all the pitfalls of the first season can be filled out.